This morning I wanted to show you the plants in my living room, and this is a very good window. It is facing, I'm going to show you on my app, it is facing about, it says 79 or 80 degrees east. So it's a very sunny window in the morning, and that is why we have so many plants crowded around this particular window. So it's not ideal to have this many plants in the living room as far as the decor, but this is sort of how it looks in the winter time when I can't have a lot of my house plants outside. Many of these enjoy the summer and spring and summer outside. So let me show you what I have here. I'll start over here. It's a little bit past its peak, but this is an orchid that I had cut back, and my husband had an operation last year and someone brought him an orchid. So we took care of it, and the flower stalk faded, but when I cut it back it made another one this year. So that's nice. I hope it averages at least one bloom stalk a year for me. But that's the first time I've gotten an orchid to rebloom, and I'll show you the last one here, which is still somewhat pretty. But isn't that beautiful? And then the rest are starting to fade and fall away, but that's pretty exciting to be able to get an orchid to rebloom. You have to have the light just right. So I keep these actually in my cacti room downstairs, which gets southern sun, and then when they bloom I bring it up here so we can enjoy it. And then over here I'll start on the hearth. I have the Opuntia, which I brought in, and it's looking great, guys. I ended up giving it water and putting it in this sunny, warm location, and as you can see, it does get morning sun. So the good news is the Opuntia should be able to bounce back, and towards spring I expect to see new pads shooting out of it. And I did dry the ends of the pads and replant them. So there's about 12 pads that survived. A couple more had shriveled, but these are the ones that I potted up. So I'll have a wall of Opuntias there, beaver tail cacti. And then next to it is the pencil cactus, and it did really well this summer, and it seems to have been tough about the transition indoors. Sometimes plants really don't transition well from outdoors to indoors in the winter, but this one seems to be pretty hardy in that regard. So it's looking great, getting really big for the space. And this one is a rosemary plant, and my husband brought that home last night. That's a birthday gift from him, and it's beautiful. It almost looks like a little Christmas tree. It's very cute, and it smells so good, but he always knows to get me something green and leafy. And he got me a beautiful bird bath for my garden, which I'll show you when in the spring when it's all set up with flowers. But isn't that beautiful? Let me give you a close-up. It almost looks like an evergreen, but in my zone I think we're in a zone 6B. You can't have these out in the winter. So this will be indoors for the winter, and I'll put it back out in the warm weather. But I just love it, and it smells so good. I wish you guys could smell it. And then behind that is a big aloe vera, which looked pretty bad outside. It's funny, it didn't like the heat. You would think it would like the heat, but it didn't particularly like the heat in the polytunnel. And it is putting off, I see at least 3 pups down there. So it has really, you know, many plants suffer when you bring them indoors. This one has really taken off. So I'm thinking about, I may even try to keep it inside. We'll see how that goes, but it is awfully large. But that's a beautiful aloe vera. And it might also be that aloe vera grow in the winter, so it's just more vigorous. Some of these succulents and some of the succulents do have a winter growing period, and this might be one of them. But look at that baby. Isn't that adorable? And then my jades are another one of the succulents which really do look better in the fall and winter. And again, I think that their best growing period does happen around December. But it's looking really nice, and it's kind of flushed out. And behind that is my Hummel jade plant, which has never ever since I got it been yellow. It came and it was yellow, and since I've been taking care of it, it has not been yellow. So if any of you guys have any tips on that, let me know. But it sort of looks like a normal jade plant, so I'm not sure if I got a sunset Hummel jade or a normal jade plant that had been stressed, but it was sold to me on eBay as a sunset Hummel jade. So we'll see if it matures or if some other conditions happen, if it turns yellow. But I'm not so sure about that one. But it's a pretty plant, and I'm enjoying it anyway. And then over here we have some jade cuttings. These are more of a miniature jade leaf, and they're doing really well. Those are just some cuttings I put in soil, and they took off. And then underneath I have a little, kind of hard to get down there, but this is a little update for you. This was from my video where I had done how to fix stretched out succulents, and I just pretty much chopped the stems down, and it took about 1.5 years to get it to look like this, and it's still very small, but you can see this is really the best size. Sorry, I'm struggling to bend down and reach over there. It's a little crowded here with plants. But there's actually 3 of them. And they did well. Finally an update on that one. And then here is my Schlumbergera. It's kind of a mass planting of them. I don't know if you can tell how huge it is. It's about 3 feet across, but it's multiple plants in this big container, which is originally a sink basin, and I had found it in a consignment shop, and I thought it was a planter, but as I was checking out, someone said, oh, that looks like it's an on-the-counter sink. So that's a beautiful container. But right now it just finished blooming. I probably should have done a video, but it was all different colors. And this is now kind of shriveling up and wrinkling because it's exhausted from blooming. So this is the period of the year. This is a Thanksgiving cactus. So, you know, towards the Christmas holiday, it looks exhausted after putting so much energy into blooming. And that's completely normal. And I did do a video about that, just to let you know, because oftentimes people will water these. When they see them start to shrivel, it sort of sends a signal to you that it might be dry, but it's really just needs a winter rest. So you're actually supposed to hold off in December and a little bit of January. Just hold off on water just to let them stop growing and regain their energy. And then by certainly by February they start looking better. But it's looking a little wilted now due to that. And up on the top here, I have another, this is a tiger aloe. And again, this one is has perked up. You can see a little sunshine's hitting that pup, which is just starting to come up. But my aloes are pupping and looking very plump now. And like I said, it must be their growth period. They must like a winter growth period. Or they like this window as well, the eastern sun. And then this is some kind of a golem jade here, and it's got a weeping structure. So I kind of like the way that looks. It's very interesting. And it's not a hobbit jade. It's not completely curled. Actually, it might be a hobbit jade. I'm looking at this leaf here. It's very curly. But it's the weeping structure, which I find really interesting. So that's a pretty one. And I love my jades. And then this is a dish garden that my husband gave me in January. And it's looking great. I've been able to keep it alive. Sometimes it's hard with a dish garden because plants might have different needs. But these plants are pretty well suited together. I did replace one plant with some cuttings I had of this Scindapsus, and I popped that in. There was one prayer plant that was just droopy all the time, and no matter what I did, it didn't seem to be happy. So I just popped that single plant out and put another one in, and now this is a really pretty combination, and everything seems to be happy together. But it's got so many plants in there. There's a palm and a dracaena, now the Scindapsus, and then there's a philodendron. But it's beautiful. I love that one. And then he did a good job picking it. And then over here I have another Thanksgiving cactus. I got this one last year and it's doing pretty well, and it didn't really bloom this year. I think I messed up on the lighting, but that's fine. It doesn't have to bloom every year, but it's doing well. And as you can see, it's not as droopy. It hasn't bloomed, so it didn't expend its energy as much as the one that's below it. So, and I liked that one because it had smaller leaves. That's really the only reason I would buy another holiday cactus, is because it just had a smaller leaf shape and I liked the texture on that. It was different from what I had. So doing well. And then this is a mistletoe cactus here. And that one's really taken off. That was a teeny plant. I had done a kind of a spotlight video on that maybe 2 years ago now. But it has really grown, and I just love the way these Ripsalis plants grow. So again, I think that's called the mistletoe cactus, and it's beautiful, and at some point it's supposed to flower, but again, I think the lighting has to be right. So we'll have to see if that flowers while it's living in this window. And then let me take you over here. These were my cuttings from the ZZ plant, and they're all still alive. I have some in back that I tucked into the original pots that I'll show you. But some of them have turned yellow. So that could just be, you know, because it went from water culture to soil culture. But they all still look alive, and I'm hoping the yellow ones do make it. But I do have 4 out of the 6 of those cuttings are green, and they need a little water. I probably shouldn't have them right near the heating vent, but I wanted them to get some sun. So I'll probably move those away from the heat. That might not be the best thing for them. And then over here is my string of hearts cuttings. And I've been busy propagating and filling it out. This might not be the best angle, but I have really worked on filling out the pot, and it looks like it needs to dry to get watered, but it's getting thicker, so I'm working on it. It's not looking its best right now, but I'm working on filling it out, and it's still alive, so I'm happy about that. There's a lot of new growth on this side, so that'll drape down on this end. But it does seem to really like this, the lighting from this window. And then here's more jade cuttings back here. And here's my original ZZ plant. And that has a few of the cuttings stuck in there. So it's pretty wispy looking now. And I explained in the video, the propagation video for the ZZ plant, that this one had gotten too much sun earlier in the summer. But hopefully some of my leaves will propagate out and it'll fill back in. And then let me bring you around here. This is a beautiful bird's nest Sansevieria. I think it's called black gold, and it's got really dark green leaves with this yellow edge, and it's a spectacular plant, so I was really excited when I found this one. But I love that bird's nest variety of Sansevieria, and they're very compact, very easy to put in your decor. And so let me show you what's going on here. This is my couch, and I realized that one of my best windows is behind this couch. So instead of rearranging the whole living room, I just moved the couch out about 6 inches, and it still looks like it's right up against the window. But if you come over here, you can see that just a little bit of space is housing most of my Sansevieria collection. And it was sort of also a way of minimizing how many plants are in here. In this room, there's already so many in that corner that I wanted to find a way where I could use the window but not necessarily have all the plants showing. So this is what happens when you get such a big plant collection. You want to try to minimize it sometimes, and also find the best place for your plants. But this is I think this is a lemon lime Dracaena, and this I've had for about 5 years. It's not a particularly fast growing plant, but my daughter got me this while she was in college, and that was from a Walmart we were shopping in. And then I have a couple more jade plant cuttings down there, a golem jade and then a mini jade. And this is a bird's nest Sansevieria as well, and it's just more of a variegated variety. It's a beauty. I really like that. And here are my cuttings. I have some Sansevieria cuttings that I've been trying to propagate, and I'm going to try to zoom in on this one. This one I've had for a very long time rooting, and it is finally, I'm going to try to zoom in here. See if it'll focus. It's not really focusing for you. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out. But what I wanted to mention is that it finally, there we go. We finally have a little sprout coming out of this one. And it's too small to see from here, but it is finally starting to send up some shoots. Which means that it will be a successful propagation. So I'm looking forward to seeing that come up probably by spring. They all need a little water back here, it seems. There's another cutting. And then I have a few of the Sansevieria cylindricas in my collection. And they have an interesting way of growing. But they're putting up new babies. And then this one I ordered last summer from Puerto Rico, and it's like a golden honey variety of the Sansevieria honey. And that's such a pretty one. It's got a lot of yellow in it. And then this is the Sansevieria Whitney. And I'm going to try to, this is a little bit hard to film behind the couch, so I apologize if it's a rocky filming job with this set of plants, but I want to show you this leaf pattern. The variegation is in the margin of the leaf, and it's just such a pretty plant. I love that one. So it's doing well. Not exactly putting up new leaves, but could use a little water. And this one is the Sansevieria Bambino, and it's just kind of a fine, more fine looking leaf, more delicate structure. And here's another Sansevieria cylindrica. And then here are some cuttings of the ZZ plant. And that's it. We're back over to this group of plants in the corner. So guys, this is a good way to sort of minimize my plants and let them get the maximum amount of sun in my home. And they seem to be doing well. All of these plants seem to like the eastern exposure. So I know southern exposure is probably what people would consider full sun, but the eastern exposure in my house is doing well for most of these varieties. As you can see, it's quite a mix of variety of plants. And I'm really happy about my beaver tail cactus bouncing back. So guys, that is the complete tour of my living room plants so far, and I'm happy to tell you almost everything is doing really well. So thanks for tuning in, and I'd love to hear your comments. Let me know if you have any of these plants, or if you have any tips for me, especially about the sunset Hummel Jade. If anybody owns a sunset Hummel Jade, it'd be nice to know how to get it to turn yellow. It could be that I pamper mine too much, but let me know if you have some tips on that. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.